everyone, and welcome back to video number 2. They always say the second one is the hardest, and I have made it to the second of my booktube videos. I keep wanting to say book talk. I'm not on book talk. I mean, I am, but this isn't book talk. This is booktube. The book. So I know I said that I was going to talk about reviews. I will occasionally review books. Actually, I'll do it probably a lot more than often. But I've given you guys, I have an audience, sort of. A very tiny one. And I just wanted to take a moment to talk about one of my favorite books. Now, I very rarely say a book is one of my favorite books. I very rarely scream from the top of hilltops to go read other books. Like last week I did Project Hail Mary. Definitely go read that book. Absolutely great read. This is completely different. This is Spider Robinson's Callahan Crosstime Saloon. This is an old book. Like both physically, this copy is an old book. And this book is old. How best to describe this book? Let me give you a story about this book and then we'll talk about this book. So this book came to me, not this specific copy, but this book came to me as a recommendation from an English professor of mine a long time ago who said that if I like science fiction, I like the esoteric, I should read this book. It depicts, it's kind of a semi-anthology. It's a bunch of short stories that are all connected and taking place in this gentleman Callahan's bar or saloon. And it's hopecore. And I wanted to talk about it right now because I recently reread this book, as in I read it yesterday. Because I've been wanting to have a little bit of hopecore. Project Hail Mary is hopecore. This book is hopecore to the extreme. It depicts a bunch of stories of various people who walk into this bar, and they each come in with very interesting maladies. They're not normal bar patrons. They're people that talk about things like, they talk about, one of them has been in prison for a long time. I'm trying really hard not to spoiler this one because this is one of those books where, like, you have to read this book. You have to read this book. Please, please, please go read this book. I know it's hard to find, but find a copy, download the ebook. It's such a good book. Go to your library, support your local library, and read this book. I actually took years to find this. Is like one of the more original printings. This is the version that I read as a kid. So I love this book. It is, like I said, it's hopecore. Without the spoilers. So there are a number of stories in here. One of them, it talks about a guy who was, imprisoned for a number of years, and it's called The Time Traveler. The first story literally opens with an extraterrestrial. And these are all a bunch of stories of various people who have lived through strange times. And what makes it hopecore is that this is a book about how you can come to this place, Callahan Saloon, and find peace and happiness. And, okay, maybe not happiness, but closure. And it reminded me also of a line, I can't even remember who said it. Someone had said it recently. They were like, we as humans have to learn to accept the bad things that have happened to us. And right now, the world is a storm. We're not even going to talk about it. We're also not going to talk about the fact that I probably have beads of sweat forming on my face. It is hot in this room and I have not yet installed the air conditioning, so we'll get to that. But this book is about hopecore in the darkest of times. Like literally the first story, and this is the only one I'll spoil, quote unquote, is about an alien who has come to destroy the planet Earth. Obviously, the rest of the book happens, so we know that doesn't happen. I'm going to just be flapping this book around this entire time. I love this book. And the stories go on from there. There are a bunch of stories about and these are just ordinary people. In as much as ordinary people can be ordinary people with psychic powers and the ability to control darts flying through the air. This is also, incidentally, the book where I learned the idea of the centipede's dilemma, which is a hilarious thing I ended up looking into. The centipede's dilemma is the idea that if you ask a centipede how she coordinates all of her legs, like, she stops and she can't do it. So, this is the thing, like, you can instinctively pause this YouTube video. But I want you to try to think about how you're doing it. Like, think about, like, how the neurons it takes to move, have your brain move your hand to the space bar or the pause button, and like just think about physically, consciously trying to make those choices. And obviously you'll be able to do this, but it's this idea that if we start thinking about something too much, we stop being able to do it. And it's a great little thing about just the way that we as humans, we've learned to do so many things. We learn to survive on our own. I'm rambling about this book because I love this book. I'm rambling about the stories in this book, and I just wanted to have a Hope Corps video. This video is about Hope Corps. This video is about a book that I read as a teenager that made me realize that there are better ways to do things in the world, and that even in the darkest of times there is hope. It's full of short stories. There's very little I don't like about this book. It was written in, I think it was the 80s or 90s. It was written a while ago. Let me take a look. It was written in the 70s. So, temporal mechanics coming into play about, that was written 50 years ago. There are certain things that we don't talk about, etc., etc. But there aren't even that many of those. Like, I think of all the off-color books I've read from the 70s and the 80s and the 60s of we kind of accept those works as products of their time. This kind of stands most of the test of time. Yes, there are certain parts. As with anything, there are books written in the 2000s that haven't stood the test of time. This one stands it more. I'm looking at the back of the book. This one stands it more. If you are looking for a read, I don't even know what this video is talking about. It's just talking about these characters who come together and take care of each other. But if you are looking for a read where you just want to have Hope Corps, you want to see people caring about other people in a dark and desperate world. I don't want to spoil the end of this book, but the message at the very end is apt even today in 2026 as I record this. It's about, so the basic premise, I should actually talk about the basic premise. This guy, Jake, who's a patron at this bar, is there because he lost his wife and kid in a car accident. And he's here to basically find peace. And he has found a semblance of peace. And he helps others find peace. They come, they have a good time, they go to a bar, they be merry. But they sit and listen to you. They talk to you. They're there to say, hey, everything's going to be okay. Like, you're not in this alone. I wanted to read a book about Hope Corps because I've been feeling alone recently with the way the world's been going, and you're not in this alone. This is me telling you, not the book telling the message, although the book also tells the message, but you're not in this alone. Read this, I'm not good at monologues. I go rambly all the time, but I do like to talk about these things because sometimes when we are having a difficult day, we need to read or watch something that makes us feel like maybe the world isn't going up in flames around us. And it's not. I mean, it is. But it's not. There are forces of good at play and at work. And I think what I love about this book is that the forces of good at play aren't just there to help, but they're there to turn you into the helpers. It's a pay it forward and pay it back kind of thing. And I am finding the groove of these videos. I just wanted to sit here and ramble about one of my favorite books, which is Callahan's Crosstime Saloon by Spider Robinson. It develops such a great world. There is such a little story here about this little tiny bar and these patrons that come to this bar. It's a number of short stories. My favorite happens to be The Law of Conservation of Pain, which is one in the middle. And I always said that I will end these videos with me reading a portion of my favorite quote, the quote that stays with me through the book. And this is the quote that it stays with me throughout the book in general since I've read it as a high schooler, but it also stayed with me after I finished it yesterday. So put my bookmark over there. And I want to read the quote that I think if you read this book, this is the best line. Just as there are laws of conservation of matter and energy, so there are, in fact, laws of conservation of pain and joy. Neither can ever be created or destroyed, but one can be converted into the other. I wanted to ramble about Spider Robinson's Callahan's Crosstime Saloon. I will probably do a better video about this, talking about it more in depth and in detail once I get the hang of this. But right now we're just starting, and I'm just starting, and I wanted to invite you into my little world of Hope Corps. Please read this book. It is fantastic. You will love it. I promise you. If you don't like it, you can come and at me in the comments. And with that, I'm going to say peace out and good night and take care. And yeah. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. Now you don't have to hear me go. Oh, you probably will, because that's where I'll cut to black.